Hi, it's Carter Clues, president of Constitutional Rights PAC. And I'm doing this today to send out a message about tonight's debates. It's August 23rd. It's Wednesday. We have the Republican presidential debate, such as it is. And I was asked by a bunch of CR PAC patriots to give you my analysis of the candidates, okay, of the candidates. Now, those of you who are regular CR PAC patriots know I send out a personal email every day. We send out a newsletter every day, but on top of that, I send out a personal email where I just talk to you about breaking issues, important top issues. You a lot of times provide some analyses by other experts that I really respect. People like Doug McGregor, folks like the Duran, these kind of people who are really, Larry Johnson, have tremendous insights, and you don't really get to see nearly enough of, so I make sure to get those into your hands, redacted. And so every day that goes out, and today, a lot of the CR PAC patriots said to me, could you do an analysis of the debate and the debaters? Okay, that's what's really important here. And they asked me, instead of doing it in writing, can you do it in a video? That way we can watch it, or we can listen to it as if it's a podcast, okay, when we're driving or whatever. And so I said, sure, I'll do it. And so I went and talked to a lot of my fellow political operatives from Washington. As many of you know, I was I guess you would say, a top political operative in Washington for almost 50 years. Worked with the Reagan White House, top communications director for the Senate Majority, was a National Right to Work Committee, director of PR. They're a great organization. Americans Who Live in the Government, Judicial Watch, just a bunch of them. And so had a lot of experience with politicians. And I showered and soaked myself in disinfectant, and I'm all right now. And still have a lot of contact and communication with people who are really very astute analysts, and said, what do you think of these people in the debate tonight? Now, when I talk about these people, I want to make clear, this is my opinion, okay? This is not this is not a flatus, not speaking like the Pope. This is not ex cathedra. I'm just giving you my opinion based upon my experience with politics and politicians as to these 8 people that are in this debate tonight. Okay, obviously President Trump, quite rightly, is not in the debate. Reagan didn't debate when he was had been president and had people primarying him. He didn't feel like he had to go debate them. Let them fight amongst themselves. I remember back when Reagan first ran, there were 7 candidates against him, and we used to refer to them as the 7 dwarfs. Okay, obviously, referring to Snow White and the 7 dwarfs. With these 8, I kind of look at it as, instead of Snow White and the 7 dwarfs, it's kind of like White Knight, Donald Trump, and the 8 elves. Okay, I mean, these folks are so far behind. They remind me of the guy that said, I follow the horses that follow the horses. Well, all these guys are following many furlongs behind the lead horse, Trump, up there at 62%, according to the CBS poll that just came out a couple days ago. DeSantis way back there, somewhere back there, 16%. Ramaswamy coming up at 7, but to his credit, he is gaining. And then you go on down this list of people. Pence at 5. Who in the heck are the 5 people that like Mike Pence? I guess even Judas Iscariot had his fans, but and then you have the rest of them, Tim Scott. Now, some of these people are fine people, and maybe one day they'll make good candidates, but right now we have to take a serious look at them and reminds you of what William Pitt said to the Parliament: "You have been weighed in the balance and found wanting." So let's just go over them one by one, okay? And I'm just going to give you my opinion. I'm going to give it to you straight from the shoulder, straight from the heart, okay? And then you watch tonight and see if it seems to unfold this way, okay? So up way out there, out of sight is Donald Trump, who's doing great, 62%. I think if he can get another indictment, he may break 100% support among likely GOP primary voters, all right? I mean, the travesty of these indictments is not lost on the Republicans, who are backing the man in stronger than I've ever seen, other than Reagan, than back a presidential candidate. So let's just go through the list, okay? And again, if some of you support some of those who I'm going to do this analysis on today, I don't mean to offend you. I'm sorry if I do. I'm just telling you my own opinion based upon a long time in politics, okay? And let's start with DeSantis, down there at 16%. I mentioned earlier, not yet ready for prime time. I have never seen anyone come out of the gate with more people feeling very positively about him, and then watch him kind of almost implode as he makes one misstep after another. I mean, when you have to fire your entire staff, it tells you something has gone horribly wrong. And you can blame all those around you, but in my experience in politics, and I used to manage a lot of political campaigns all over the country, when you have to fire the entire staff, probably the candidate himself has got some problems. DeSantis' biggest problem in terms of on the issues, I mean, on the domestic issues, the guy is right on target. I mean, he sounds like Trump most of the time, and right on target. In turn, he was really the only governor who stood up to the COVID hoax and said almost from the beginning, no, I am not a dictator. I'm not going to shred the Constitution, and allowed his people freedom. And they had one of the lowest rates of that flu, and it was just a flu of any we now know, because of it was proven Sweden didn't do anything. Their people were fine. The African nations didn't do a thing. They had the lowest rate of COVID. Nicaragua, Ortega told the people, "I'm not your grandfather. I don't care if you get shots or masks. Do what you want." And they hardly had any COVID. So DeSantis proved right on that, just as he has on many domestic issues. Now, foreign policy, I'm going to say it. He sounds like a globalist, okay? He starts talking about foreign countries, and it almost sounds, if he were senile, you'd feel you were listening to Joe Biden. He just can't seem to find a war he doesn't like. There comes a time when you have to stand up and say, having 400,000 Ukrainian young people slaughtered so that we can fight a proxy war hasn't worked out very well. But no, he hadn't done that. And then now he goes on the attack against China. China, they better not do anything to Taiwan. Taiwan is on the other side of the world from us. It's 15 minutes from China. And China has not said it's going to attack Taiwan. Okay, China has for decades waged essentially economic warfare. Okay, and that's it's hard to find a place where they've sent their troops in. We've done it a lot of times, but China hasn't. So, in the foreign policy, DeSantis sounds like George W. Bush. I'm sorry. You wonder, you remember Jeb was the former governor of Florida. You wonder how close he may be to Jeb. I mean, it just, something wrong there. And I think watch him tonight and see if he goes off on this, who we need to make war on, Biden-esque tirade. Because that's his, as far as I'm concerned, with the American people, that's his Achilles heel. American people are feeling very strongly, no more war, okay? reminds me of my youthful days back in the hippie days when we used to chant, "Hell no, we won't go." Well, that's the way the American people are feeling about these foreign adventurism now. And DeSantis on the wrong side of that, so watch your life for that. And another problem that Ron has, and again, I like the guy, I just don't yet think he's ready for prime time, is I've never seen anyone lacking charisma to the extent that he does. You'd think he would have studied Reagan and got some advisor to show him how you appear likable, how you appear with a little bit of warmth. There's just nothing there. That I'm going to say something to those of you who are baseball players. Was scouted by a lot of major league teams as a kid, played baseball 24 hours a day, and I'm going to say something that those of you who played are going to say, is going to start laughing and nodding your head, okay? Now, for those of you who didn't, I'll explain it. Ron DeSantis is a second baseman, okay? Now, as I said, those of you who played understand what I'm saying. Those of you who didn't, let me explain. There are a lot of good second basemen, but it's hard to name a second baseman superstar. It's just not a very exciting position. When I started out, I played second base, and I realized this is just boring. There are not a lot of left-handed hitters. I switched to shortstop, and I had a lot more flash and got a lot more glory and got to field a lot more ground balls. Second base is kind of, those of you who remember, have good baseball memories, remember Nellie Fox and Bobby Richardson, and they ain't up at the top, but they're not up there with names like Hank Aaron and Babe Ruth and the other guys who, even Cal Ripken, these guys. No, second base is boring. Ron, I would wager, was a second baseman, okay? It's just the way it is. There's a lack of charisma. He's going to have to work on that. And it's reflected in his campaigning. Tonight, he'll probably try and play the tough guy and make some strong statements, try and sound like Donald Trump. But it comes across like, the guy that catches a slow roller to the right-hand side of the field and underhand tosses to first base. I'm sorry, that's just the way it is. So that's DeSantis. Not yet ready for prime time. I think tonight he'll make a good showing. He'll make a good showing. He's not going to don't look for him to set the world on fire, have a lot of great one-liners like Reagan used to do or like Trump. But he'll hold his own, and that's it, which is not enough, okay? Next down is Ramaswamy. Ramaswamy is going to shine tonight. Okay, I'm just going to tell you. He's going to shine tonight. He is very, very articulate, very glib. He says almost all the right things. I mean, even in foreign policy, other than, he wants, for some reason, wants to wage war on China. I don't get this China obsession, but whatever. Why you want to wage war on 2 billion people is beyond me when they're not waging war on you. But other than that, on Ukraine, he's nailed it right from the beginning. $500 billion we spent on Zelensky, and he makes it clear this is absurd and it's obscene, both. So this man is going to be very articulate tonight. He's going to come across very well. He's going to be right on all the issues. Now, having said that, the thing you need to listen for is, do you have total faith in what he's saying? Because he has no track record. I'm not saying a person has to have been in long-time politics, but when somebody comes out of nowhere and says all the right things, you need to kind of say, is there a danger this guy's all hat and no cattle? Okay. And with Vivek, I think that's how I pronounce his name, and I've watched a lot of interviews with him. If you get a chance to watch the Cartier family interview, that's those 4 black guys who do an incredible job. They did a great job, and he was great on their program and with Tucker. Um, I think the man has a great future. I think tonight he's running for the vice presidential nomination. I think that's what you're going to see tonight, a man running for the VP nomination, and I think he'll run well tonight. I think he'll come across better than DeSantis. If to continue the baseball analogy, he's a shortstop. Okay, he's pretty flashy. Okay, he's pretty flashy, and I predict. Watch tonight, see what you think. But I think he's going to come across very, very well. Very polished. He's a very polished performer. Okay, at 5%, Mike Pence. Mike Pence, the guy who, when Tucker Carlson asked him about our cities burning, our economy collapsing, said, that's not my concern. Excuse me? That's not my concern, Tucker. My concern is making sure Zelensky wins in the Ukraine. Kiss this guy goodbye. I think he is, Edgar Allan Guest once referred to the runner who renown outran, and the name died before the man. Okay? The runner who renown outran, and the name died before the man. This man's name is dead and buried. Mike Pence is finished. There was some question back when Trump took him on as VP, which I oppose very strongly, because he had been such a spineless governor of Indiana, that there was a question whether he could have even gotten reelected there. So Trump rescues him from essentially what I consider the dung heap of history, in the way he says thank you. It's by the stunt he pulled on January 6th, when, by the way, he could have thrown the election to the House, which he should have done. That's the Constitution says that, federal law says that, and precedent indicated the same thing. He could have done it. He knew he could have done it. But Mike Pence is famous for taking the easy way out. And once again, he did that there. And then instead of just saying, look, maybe I should have taken a stronger stand, but at the time I didn't think that I didn't feel like I could. No, he attacks Donald Trump again. I did a column not long ago, some of you may recall, waiting for the cock to crow. Well, that's what Mike Pence is doing. Maybe the cock will crow tonight during the debate. Pence will come across, as he always does, very stiff and political, and very I'm the anchor man, Dan Rather-esque, and it doesn't sell anymore. It doesn't sell. It does not work. Those days are gone. Those days are gone. The Dan Rather anchorman routine no longer works. That's how Pence comes across. That's how I predict he'll come across tonight. I think it won't be his final hurrah, because he likes the glory. He likes to be on the campaign trail, and besides, it helps him raise money, which then they have ways for those politicians to pocket after they fall off into oblivion. Where Pence is headed. Tim Scott, senator from South Carolina, good guy. He's running for vice president. Tim's running for vice president. And he may well get the VP nominee. I would, if I were Trump, choose Tulsi Gabbard, but Tim may get the VP nominee. He's smart, he's articulate, he's right on the issues. He's pretty bold guy. He's not afraid to take a stand. He's done it in the Senate repeatedly, and Tim could pull in some more of the black vote, and that argues on his behalf for VP. But watch him tonight. You'll see he's going to be very cordial. You'll see he's going to come across as strong, assertive. But keep in mind, but he's running for VP. Okay, he's running for VP, and let's see how he does. Let's see how he does. He may come across so well tonight that he moves up from his 3% support among GOP primary voters. If he can get to, let me just say this, if he can get to double digits, I think there's a very good chance we could see a Trump Tim Scott ticket. I think we could. And that would not be all bad. He's a good man. Okay? And so let's see what happens there with him. I think he'll come across well. Not as well as Vivek, certainly better than Pence, and certainly better than DeSantis will, because Tim knows how to exude a little bit of warmth. So keep an eye on Tim. Nikki Haley, former governor of South Carolina. DeSantis earlier this week referred to Trump supporters as listless vessels. Absurd statement. If anybody's listless, it ain't Trump supporters. You don't run around with their F Joe Biden flags. And I have a place up in a vacation home in a resort community up in West Virginia, and there are flags everywhere up there that say F Joe Biden and F you if you voted for him. Okay, so Trump supporters are anything but listless. Some ill-advised advisor told DeSantis to say that, drawing from the Bible verse where Jesus refers to people as empty vessels, okay? The whole thing went over everybody's head other than knowing that DeSantis insulted Trump supporters, which is kind of stupid when the guy has 62% support. But if there is an empty vessel, it is Nikki Haley. There is nobody home there. I'm telling you. She became governor of South Carolina, telling everybody what a daughter of the South she was, how much she loved her Southern heritage, and then got in and took the Dixie flag off the Capitol building. Now, some of you say, well, that was slavery flag. No, it wasn't a slavery flag. It was the flag of the Confederacy, and those who fought and died against what the South called the War of Northern Aggression. Okay, now, so you can debate this all day long, but the fact of the matter is that the main reason for the Civil War was economic aggression from the North. The South should have gotten rid of the slaves much sooner, never should have had slaves, obviously. But to the people of South Carolina, the Dixie flag did not stand for slavery. It stood for their proud heritage as Southerners. Southerners who, by the way, fought very bravely and who made up a large part of our regiments in the world wars our country fought. Young Southern soldiers, which is why so many of our forts used to be named after Southern generals. Fort Bragg and these, right? I mean, they've changed them now because they have to be politically correct. But she betrayed the people's trust down there. Really did nothing of any note other than that. Then went to the Trump, put her on as UN ambassador, where she screeched and hollered and said a lot of good things, and she was very articulate at it and put on quite a show. She's good at that. She'll put on a good show tonight. She's a good show person. She'll put on a good show, and she'll say all the right things. Other than she, like DeSantis, probably has not caught on. The American people are getting a little tired of Toxie Joe Biden's war on everybody around us. But as far as domestic policy and all, she's going to say all the right things. Nikki Haley always does. Whether she believes any of them, if you believe Nikki Haley believes in any of the things she says, I have a bridge in Brooklyn I can give you a great deal on, okay? That's just the way it is. That's Nikki Haley. Always has been that way, always will be that way. But she'll do a good job tonight. She will do a good job tonight. It's not going to move her up from 2%. Nothing is, but she'll do a good job. Christie. Look, Christie had a brief, what does it say in Camelot? Fleeting wisp of glory, okay? For a while as governor, when he played the tough guy and did a good job of it, and I'll admit I was impressed. He played the tough guy, said all the right things for a brief little time when he was governor. Then he fell in love with Barack Obama. We can all still see them hugging and almost kissing during Hurricane Sandy. And you start to say to yourself, it's a little overboard there for a guy who so strongly opposes Obama's policies. Really helped Obama get reelected with that display Christie put on there. And after that, just continued in his downward spiral. Nobody would pay a bit of attention to anything Christie says if he didn't constantly attack Donald Trump. He knows that, and that's why he does it. Okay? He wants to stay in the limelight. He's one of these people who doesn't understand when it's time to exit stage left. All he's got is politics, so he wants that. He wants people to still run up to him and say, "You'd make a great president." He wouldn't, because all he does is attack Donald Trump. I don't even know what his policies are. But also keep in mind, in terms of his judgment, he's the one who recommended Christopher Wray, the worst director of the FBI in history, to that position. Trump, to his discredit, fell for it, and now we're stuck with this arrogant, smarmy, strutting little Christopher Wray bludgeoning the Constitution and covering up for Joe Biden every step of the way, Toxic Joe and Cokehead Hunter. But that was a Christie's the one who recommended Wray. So that alone should keep him out of things. Tonight he'll do fine. He'll attack Donald Trump. That's what he does. That's how he makes his living. Gets him on TV and mainstream media, and he's a pretty articulate guy. He certainly has presence, about 400 pounds of it. So he'll at times dominate. He'll at times dominate the stage, but nothing he says or does tonight is going to get him beyond 2%. Watch it and see what you think by the end of the debate. Okay. The next two. This Burgum guy, former governor of North. Folks, I don't even know why some of these people do this stuff other than pure ego. Matter of fact, I'm going to sum up these last two guys, and both of them, Burgum and Hutchison. That is just pure ego gratification. Self-indulgence, wanting to be in the limelight. I'm not even sure these guys' wives are supporting them. There's nothing out there, but they love the limelight. It's what happens to politicians. It's what happens to them. I've seen it for 50 years. Keep in mind, they're perfect examples of what I call the 3 Ps of politics. The reason there are people like this in politics, and most politicians are like them. And the 3 Ps of politics, they're in politics for prestige, power, and payola. Okay? With these guys now, it's the prestige. It's the look at me, I'm running for president. Okay? And it's an embarrassment. They're an embarrassment to themselves, and they'll stand up there and they'll posture. That's what they're going to do tonight. Watch them. They're going to posture and try and look political. Okay? They're going to try and they're going to assume the posture of what they think looks like statesmen. It doesn't. It looks like politicians. But that's what they're going to do. That's what they're going to do. Okay? Watch them. See if you agree by the end of the debate. So there you have it. There are the, as I call them, the 8 elves who tonight are going to try and take on the White Knight unsuccessfully. 2 of them are running for VP. Nikki may even be running for VP. After all, Trump made the mistake of appointing her once. She may think he'll do it again. But 2 of them definitely are running for VP. DeSantis could get the VP nod. We're running out of time. So let me just say, don't say, "Oh, Carter, not the way he's been attacking Trump lately." That's what politicians do. Okay. I've watched this for decades, where they savage each other, and then come time for the nominating convention, and these people you thought couldn't stand each other are suddenly up there arm in arm at the podium, waving out at the crowd, predicting their victory. The quintessential example of that was LBJ and John F. Kennedy. Kennedy and LBJ couldn't stand each other. savaged each other throughout the campaign, and then were arm in arm at the convention and went on to victory. So they do what they have to do, and so don't count DeSantis out as VP either. But that's my take on the debates tonight. Watch them. Every one of you watching this is astute, because after all, you are CR-PAC patriots, and I hear from you all the time, so I know your analysis is really remarkable, really remarkable. And so watch it for yourself, see if you agree or disagree, and let's see what happens.